Hello everyone. Thank you for tuning in to IWUAN with Testimony. I'm here bringing you another wonderful testimony given by my special guest, Kia Dowdy. Kia, how you doing today?
I'm blessed.
I'm glad to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
I'm sure your testimony is going to give someone belief, and that's what we're here for, to let them know if God worked it out for you, He will work it out for us.
Amen.
So if you would, just go ahead and kind of introduce yourself and tell us who you are and a little about where you're from.
Okay, well, my name is Kia Dowdy. They call me Kia. I'm originally from Memphis, Tennessee. I currently reside in Copperas Cove, Texas. I am a single parent. I am the founder of Integral Solutions Coaching Service, as well as Crown of Glory nonprofit organization. I advocate for women of domestic violence because I am a survivor, myself. I work with children. I was a certified child advocate for 7 years here in juvenile court system. So I'm basically just a woman of many hats, well-rounded, loving to always give back and to share with people and let them know that God does love them and that He can bring you out of anything, and to just captivate people in love.
Well, we're glad to have you here, and wow, that is a lot.
Yeah.
And with all that experience, I'm pretty sure that brought back a lot of advice that you can give to me and a lot of other people who are going through a lot of the things that such as abusive relationships. So tell me about before you lost yourself in your struggles.
Yes. Well, me, I was raised in a good home, in a single parent home. My mom was a very great woman of God. It was basically more so of me and the choices I made. I was very active in high school with athletics, cheerleading, majorette, pom-pom, doing a lot of things, but I ended up getting off with the wrong crowd and with people in the community that were led astray. And so I made a lot of poor choices, and then when I became 18, of course, I got the I'm grown mentality, and so I went out and branched out and did a lot of things, a lot of wild, adventurous things that really led me into a path down the wrong road. But in all of that, God still uses that now for my testimony. I was a dancer at 17. I was at 15 skipping out, going to the clubs with friends with fake IDs, drinking and drugging. I've been delivered from quite a few things. I had an ex-girlfriend, like I said, she was my abuser. She almost killed me twice. And so it just was a catastrophe of the things that I had to go through with the lifestyle that I chose and the choices that I made. I'm delivered from a lot of things. I stripped for 10 years. I sold drugs, I used drugs. I traveled state to state. I was also sex trafficked at an early age. So, basically, and it led me to be able to really, after losing myself, find myself and to use that to help with other women and be able to assist them to come out of the bondage and the agony and the poor lifestyles and choices that they were making. And so that's where I created my nonprofit, Crown of Glory. So I help women with domestic violence, women that are homeless. I once was homeless and different things of that manner. And so I basically do that, and I mentor and coach women in ministry. I am currently working on being ordained in training school for that as a minister. Yes, so I have 2 books that I'll be bringing out, which is Bruised But Not Broken, and then I have my book, Life of a Saved Sinner, from a stripper to a minister. And so, that's basically where things transpired.
There are a lot of parents dealing with kids, such once was yourself, myself, how they are getting around the wrong crowd. They're wanting to do do things just to be in the crowd. And how do you go about guiding the kids to stop that? What's your solution, or what do you think will be a solution that we as parents, concerned parents, because a lot of times we can't get a hold of those kids no matter what we say, because they only listen to their peers.
Yes.
How do we go about doing it, or do we?
Yes, so there's ways to create solutions with that. I actually do that back in my town where I live now. Always, mentors are really good. A lot of people are like, well, I don't want my child in these kind of programs. Children need to be in programs. They need to have mentors and peers and older people that they can look up to, because we as the parents, we know them, and sometimes they're not always as honest with us about things that they're going through or things that they feel they failed at, and so they need to have someone else as a secondary mentor to be able to entrust in. And that's basically what I do with a lot of youth back home. And with my Crown of Glory, I also work with youth. I do trunk parties for kids going out to college. I used to do tutoring, but due to COVID, it's been kind of delayed. I do a lot of programs, a lot of give backs, a lot of community parties and things like that. To be able to talk with them, I also counsel and coach children and families, just to try to be in depth and give the child attention. It's more so of a child feeling rejected or neglected or just making bad choices. And
I think a lot of the kids nowadays, when we say they're making poor choices because they want the fast life. Just for instance, you said you used to be a stripper and you started at the age of 17. How did you overcome saying, okay, I don't want to go to the strip club, because the money that you're getting from this strip club is addictive?
Yeah,
it's about versus drugs.
Yes,
because you got the fast money coming in. I mean, you're making more money than half of the people making in a 1 year salary. You making it in 3 months.
Yes, or 2
weeks. Or 2 weeks.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like, I mean, how do you come from that? How did you come from that? What gave you what woke you up and said, okay, I don't want to do this no more? What made you change your mind?
I danced in Miami for like 3 years at various clubs. I made a lot of money. I met a lot of people. And it's also where I got off really bad on cocaine. One night, I was kidnapped and robbed and gang raped by Haitians, by like 4 or 5 guys. And so I said no more, I said no more. I caught the Greyhound back. I left everything. I only bought my dance bag and the little $5,000 that I had in my pocket. And I came on back to Memphis, and I just made a decision, because I was raised in church. I've always known God. I made a decision to just finally completely surrender my life. Going through that was very hard for me. Just being held down, and because it's something that you shouldn't have to encounter, but it's also a wake-up call. And so if you don't take that, it could be like near death next. And so I definitely did not want to fall into that chapter or category, because I know God had things for me to do. And so I made a decision to basically release myself. I've always been very smart, very good in school and things like that. So I went back to college and I started finding myself, and God started giving me a lot of different downloads and strategic planning and different ways to develop businesses. And so I started using that as a way of income, and I still was working because, like you said, it's fast money like you're used to. But like when I was bartending, I bartended and served for years. So I would go and bartend and serve, but I was like, it's up and down. I'm not making the money I was making. And so I did fall back, dance at a few clubs here or whatever. But I finally just made the choice to say, I'm not going to live this fast life. And I started losing a lot of people. Like 2 or 3 of my friends were kidnapped and were never found. They were found in the Mississippi River, or they were killed. And they were killed in other states, in New Orleans and things of that nature by Johns, as we call it. So I didn't want my life to be empty like that.
So when you make that decision and to walk away from that lifestyle, how did the friends that you did have, how hard was it to pull away from those people?
I still was dipping and dabbing with friends because I still was using drugs. I still was living a fast life. You know, I was addicted to wealthy men. Thank God for delivering me, because I had a lot of, as you would call, sugar daddies. And so in that, I just was being taken care of by them. But then I just started knowing that I just didn't feel, I had low self-esteem. I didn't have self-worth. I'm like, these men will never be my husband. Like, I started really considering the real life that I wanted versus the life that I was living. Like, going to college, finishing college, having a husband, having a family, being successful with things that I wanted to conquer. And so with that, I had to just basically just cut everybody off when I figured that some people were, people use things against you, or the devil used people to try to entice you to, girl, you need to go and do this quick party and make this quick $1,000, this and that. I was like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm going home. I just basically just cut everybody off and shut myself off. And then that's when God told me to move, and I relocated. And that's really where the real transition happened 3 years ago.
Okay, so how did you fight the addiction? I mean, with the drugs, because we can pull ourselves out of situations and get away from the influence of others saying, come on, let's go do this. But with drugs, you can't. Once you start on drugs, it's like you be by yourself and say, I want it.
Yes.
You don't need a peers. You don't need, people ganging you up and say, come on, do it.
Especially with the party drugs I was doing, because I was doing ecstasy, cocaine, Xanax. And like, I woke up one morning in jail. I had ran into a fire hydrant, and my whole car wrapped around the fire hydrant. I took like 4 Xanax, and I didn't even know I was in jail. I didn't know where I was at. I was banged up, and I just was constantly going through the pressures of the abuse and all the things that I was going through. And so I was substituting the emotional neglect with drugs as a substance. And then of course I had friends that were doing it, and so it was like a constant thing. We're going out every Friday and Saturday to the club. We're making sure we got our drugs. We're making sure we got our outfits, and so I really had to seclude myself from that, and more so just I started back going to church more, and I started praying to God, and I started fasting, because like I said, I knew what to do as far as focusing on God, but I was off track. And so I just started praying and praying and praying. And I was just like, Lord, take the taste out of my mouth. And take the taste out of my mouth. And then just, I never went to rehab. I never went to 12 steps. I just
went to God.
I went to God. And he stripped me of the addictions.
That's deep. When the drugs, when you saw yourself praying to God and asking him to remove the drugs, and he removed the drugs from you, and he changed a lot of your ways, did you do that with any support, like family support, friend support?
My mom. I used to couldn't talk to my mom about things because she was like safer with the Holy Ghost. But I just started, being honest, and I just started facing my demons, and I just started overcoming my challenges just by being honest. And I was just like, I'm struggling, I'm mentally depressed. I'm going through this. Like, I had 2 nervous breakdowns due to trying to relapse, because I was going through so many things mentally and stuff and trying to come off it on myself. And I just went to my mom, and she was like, she would pray and pray and pray, and I would pray, and I would just shut myself in with the Bible all the time. And then in the midst of me shutting myself in with the Bible and not answering my phone, not dealing with those friends, it's like the word just started piercing and convicting and renewing me. And so and then I was like, sometimes I was still in the midst of sometimes going to get a pack and going to smoke weed. I was still smoking weed every day like cigarettes. But it was just like, I knew that I didn't want it anymore. And so when God finally saw fit, he told me to relocate where I knew nobody. And that's where he really dealt with me.
Okay. I was just wondering, because when I read and I saw some of the your testimony that you were saying from the Facebooks and from other social media that you're doing, it was like, wow. That's all I could say was wow, because it was so much, and I can't even imagine being there because I wasn't there at that point. You know, I can't say I've been addicted to the drugs. I can't say I've been, you know, out there dancing and doing things like that. I cannot say that. But the struggle to know that God came in your life and changed you based on, you know, something as deep as that.
Yes.
I think my little thing, he can do it for me now.
Yes.
I know he can.
Yes.
And that's the part of IWUAN with Testimony that, you know, that gets me to give people to come out and tell their testimony, because I feel like, you know, we listen to other people's testimony.
Yes.
You know,
your testimony is for somebody else. It's
yes.
not for yourself. So the things that I went through, I take that in. And I was like, and that's why now I've been more open and sharing and writing my book and releasing, because I have a women's ministry, and I just launched my ministry, Holy Women's Fire Ministry, and I have a lot of great things. I coach women with my coaching program and things like that. And so God has really sent the women that are assigned to me due to the things that I went through.
So how do you coach abusive woman? And when I say that, I mean, you've been in an abusive relationship.
Yes.
When do you know to walk away? Because when love plays a part of it, and I know it's hard to walk away from someone that you're loving, even if there is abusive, verbally, physically, or whatever it may be. Why did you stay? What made you decide to say, okay, I'm gonna walk away from the abusive relationship?
I was with my ex-girlfriend for 8 years. She was very well off as far as me stripping, and she was with the street gang. She was a big time queen then. I was a young, pretty stripper, so of course she was taking care of me, and it was like a lot of fast money. And so, you know, I was addicted to the money. It was like, I loved the money, like thousands of dollars. I didn't have to work. All the bills were paid. I had nice cars, you know, and but then she changed, and she became very bad on drugs, and it started off as emotional abuse, and then verbal abuse, and then into physical, even more so to the fact of almost near death. And so, you know, I actually had to heal over that for almost 2-3 years. So it took me a long time. This was back in 2010, but it took me a lot of time to really just heal and to trust people and to even really know and trust myself, because I was so broken and bitter and damaged from the situations that I went through with her. But in dealing with other women, it's basically, it is a coaching. A lot of women are codependent on their husbands or their lovers for the facts of financial stability, or they're very weakened, they're very brittle, or they're very in their mind. Some of the men, you know, have a manipulation and control over them. And so it's just something that you have to really work towards, to be broken and work. And I work with them on an action plan or an escape plan, to be able to assess all avenues, to be able to get them to safety.
Okay.
And so,
wow, that's good to know.
yeah.
Definitely before we end this video, I want you to give your contact, how people can contact you, follow you on Facebook, if you're on social media, any type of social media platform that you have, because I think a lot of the time is we don't have the resources. Well, the resources out there, but we don't know a lot of people how to get the resources. Right. And I think that's a big part of trying to start the recovery process. Yes. You know, getting back and finding. So how do you deal, or how can we say you come at a person that really don't feel like they know God? Because a lot of, you know, even though you were raised up in it, you got some people that wasn't raised up in the home to know God the way, you know, you were. So how do you get to that point? How do you coach, or how do you face that when people come to you and say, hey, I don't know God? So it's hard for me to concept the praying part and asking the believing part.
My biggest thing I do with that, most definitely, especially dealing with broken people, lost people, because that's where I'm called, you know. And it's just meet them where they are, You know, don't judge, don't bash them, don't beat them over their head with the Bible and Bible verses, because that's not going to work, because they have no knowledge of that. And that's something that they don't want to know at that moment. It's something that they could possibly gradually work up to. But it's more so meeting them where they are, letting them know, I understand you. I was once where you are. I've been where you've been. Like, look, okay, you went to jail, or you're in this, or you're in that, like I was too. Because, you know, I've been through a whole lot of things, you know, that people probably wouldn't believe. But it's basically to meet them where they are and let them know God loves you. You know, check on them and just show them love and show them the love of Christ through you, so that they could be able to gravitate to that, so you can teach and mold them and equip them into where God wants them to be.
You talk about your near-death experiences.
Mm-hmm.
Can you share one of them with us?
I was in 4 severe car accidents. I had 3 bulged discs in my neck. I was hit on the expressway, almost airlifted. I was in a severe car accident here on Winchester. Drunk driver ran a red light and hit me head on. Smashed the car. Everything was salvaged except my driver's side. I was almost killed by my ex-girlfriend. She pulled the gun on me because I finally made a decision to leave. My little baby was like 6 months then. And I was holding him in my arms, and she pulled the gun and she pulled the trigger, and she said, I told you, if you leave, you're gonna leave in a way that you don't want to. And she pulled the trigger and it jammed. And then she hit me over the top of the head, and she started pistol whipping me, broke my nose, gashed my head open, everything like that. But then she went to go pull the trigger again, and it didn't go. And my best friend ended up pulling up outside, and the neighbors ended up coming in and getting us outside to where they could get me to safety. And I had this street mentality where, like, you don't call the police. But I knew this time that it was my life, like my life flashed before my hands. So I was like, I'm calling the police. And I called the police, and they arrested her and took her away. And I ended up forgiving her, talking to her and everything like that. But she went down to Mississippi, and she killed her ex-girlfriend and her girlfriend and her girlfriend's brother. And so, you know, that easily could have been me. So now she's doing 40 years to life. And I still talk to her. I have a prison ministry, so I send her money. I write her letters, like, I forgive her, because I know that's a part of what God wants me to do. But she could have took my life multiple times. She tried to set me on fire in the house, in the bathroom, throw gasoline on me, kidnapped me, rode me down to Mississippi, took me to a field, tied me up, poured ice cold Sprite all over me. Like, yeah, she was beyond crazy.
Yeah, that's a lot. I mean, how long? And you was with her for 8 years before you decided to. Mm-hmm. Did the abuse? I know the abuse don't never start at the beginning.
No, it was really good in the beginning, like the first 3 years. But then, as I got older, because I was fresh 18, she was like 34, and I was like 18. But as I got older and I started acknowledging things, and I started saying, you know, that I wanted more for myself and not to just be dependent upon her. And that's when the control and the abuse and the arguments and everything started coming in, and the possessive. She was very possessive over me. Didn't want me to have friends, you know, kind of like sheltered me. Mm-hmm. And so that's signs of basically like a narcissist, is what I teach on narcissism behavior. So it's just basically, I feel like it was a transition and a situation that I had to go through to be able to be an asset to other women, to help them to understand, because life is the best teacher. You don't know if you haven't experienced it yourself, and I truly experienced it firsthand. So I just even thank God for saving my life and His saving grace through that, and for everything I went through. I'm grateful, because I know that there is a reason now.
It's listen to your testimony. It's easy to say that God protected you even through your wrong. Even He protected you. He covered mm-hmm. you through all the 4 accidents, major accidents, through all the abusive relationship, near death experience, and He covered you through it all. Mm-hmm. And that says a lot about our God.
Yes, our God is amazing.
And when did you know that your purpose? When did you know?
Since I was a little girl, I've been called. I've always evangelized and like brought people into the church and did things. But I, got off track and went and chose the fast life for some years. I recently I had lost my identity because, you know, I'm delivered from homosexuality too. So I had a lot of identity issues and low self-esteem and things that I was dealing with just mentally. Being bipolar, I was bipolar, like I lost my mind, I had nervous breakdowns. I was going through a lot of things, but I had just really, like I said, I secluded myself and put myself in a position to seek God the more, and I started being clean and purged and refined, and then that's when I really saw God, possibly like 3 to 5 years ago, more so in the last 3 years when I've relocated, is when I really found my true identity of who I am in God and the things that I'm called to do. And so God let me know that the things that I endured and the things that I went through has greater purpose.
Yes.
And so that's when I saw him and to, you know, seek him on where did he want me to be and what did he want me to do. And that's when he started revealing all of the visions and different things that he had for me.
Great, that is so awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So could you just give us a little about, tell us a little about all the social media platforms that you're on? How can any person that wants to get any type of coaching, abusive relationships, all those, how can we contact you? How can we follow you? Because I know somebody's gonna call, somebody's gonna inbox, and they're gonna wanna know, you know, I've been through that situation, I'm going through this situation, and I need that mentor, or I need that somebody to show me the way.
Yes.
Because a lot of times we can't relate to people who hadn't been there before, you know, and we feel like we can relate with people who's actually been through the struggle and that we're going through.
That's
and
right.
there's somebody out there who's gonna see this, is gonna wanna say, hey, I wanna reach out to her. So how do they find you?
My Facebook page is Kia, Kia Dowdy, Dowdy. My website for my coaching is integralsolutionscoachingservices.org. That's INTEGRALSOLUTIONSCOACHING services SERVICES.org. You can also find me on Instagram, Holy Remnants Fire Ministry. It's Fire Remnants with an S, REMNANTS. That is my social media for Instagram. I also have Kia Pierce Like Wine on Periscope, God's Advocate on podcast. Yes, and so you can follow me on all of those social medias, but the most social media is the Kia Dowdy Facebook page, where I do my live broadcasting, my teachings, and I promote. And I also have a business page on Facebook with Integral Solutions Coaching Service as well.
Well, we're definitely gonna be tuning into those pages because, you know, like I say, you know, I definitely learn from the testimonies. With each and every testimony that I listen to, I find a way to incorporate it into my own life.
That's right.
And I stay in His words, and He gives me, you know, He ordered my steps in the Word sense.
Right.
So I'm very glad to have you come in today
really
from Dallas.
Yes.
I thank you. Thank you all for tuning in today with us, and I hope you all enjoyed this testimony that came from Mrs. Dowdy. It is an inspiration. She is an inspiration to know that all the things that she has encountered in her life, that she's able to sit here now and give you all the things that she has accomplished in life due to her struggles. And with that being said, I won with Kia Dowdy testimony. Thank you all.